Shalom, people. This is Brother Laws coming at you with another video, and this won't be long. A thought came to my mind concerning Matthew, the 24th chapter, verses 37 through 39, about when the Messiah was talking to his disciples about how it would be before he came back, and how it would be like the days of Noah. One of the things we know that happened during the time of Noah is that mankind and angelic beings coexisted like it was nothing. When you read Genesis, the 6th chapter, when it talks about the sons of Yah came down and mated with the earth women, that means that these women were comfortable enough with these beings being there to converse with them and to talk with them. And that's not even talk about the fact that Satan himself was able to enter into this serpent being and use the serpent being's body to be able to converse with Eve, which, if you really look at it, that was the first form of a hybrid being right there, in that Satan was so much able to get into this being, this creature, this serpent, that the Most High, when he started pronouncing judgment, he said because the serpent allowed Satan to inhabit his body and use him as a instrument to deceive mankind, that the Most High would curse the serpent to go upon his belly, which means that before this, the serpent either had 4 legs or who knows what it looked like, but whatever it was, its form, its visage changed because it allowed Satan, who was an angel, an angelic being, to come and inhabit and to change his appearance to the sense of being able to deceive Eve. So we know that this was not a unheard thing to have angels and mankind, although it would be in a negative for mankind, and that the watcher angels did not do what they were commissioned by the Most High to do, to watch over man. They instead took it as a time to cause mankind to worship them, and for them to go in and to create a hybrid being called a Nephilim, the sons of renown, so that we see this same thing going on right now, but not just with the hybrid beings, I believe, but with the fact that I do believe that sometimes when we're watching television, sometimes when we are looking at different things that's going on in the world, and we see these different people appearing out in front of the public, don't be surprised that some of these beings that you are seeing are these not the watcher angels, because we know that they're in Tartarus. We know that there's no way for them to get out of that prison that they're in. But don't not think that the fallen angels that fell with Satan, because they're still angels, but they're fallen angels, that because of the wickedness of mankind, which we talked about in our video Just My Imagination, that mankind will create an atmosphere of so much evil that it will be create a atmosphere where these things can manifest themselves in human form, in animal form, as it was in the days of Noah, where they coexisted. I know that there have been stories about UFOs and abductions that have been debunked. They had one coming out of Texas where this man in the 80s had came up with this elaborate set of a UFO, and he had created him some kind of UFO type alien outfit. And what he would do, he would I guess sit and do drugs with certain people, or I don't know how he went about it, but he would introduce certain kinds of drugs to them, and then as they would start hallucinating, tripping in their mind, he would go get he would go put on his alien suit, he would set up his elaborate UFO thing, and he would take them up into the quote unquote the mothership, and he would have sex with the women, right, to cover him being a you know a rapist. And so we know there has been instances of that happening. There's no doubt about it. But I do yet believe that in some of these instances of UFO abductions, that some of these have been yet these fallen angels that somehow was able to make it into this dimension and somehow was able to engage with these people, right, and do whatever it is. And some people will say, well, you know, I don't believe that. Well, then all we had to do is go back to Yeshua and how he came into this existence. The Bible said what? They said the Holy Spirit came upon Mary and put the DNA of the Most High inside of her with her egg, and out of this our Messiah was born. He didn't become created, but Mary egg and the DNA of the Father coming in was able to create a body in order for the Messiah, who existed before Bethlehem, to come into this world. So this proves that incorporeal and corporeal can on a genetic level can come together. And in fact, if you look at the fact that before mankind existed, he was just the dust, but did the Most High breathe his spirit into mankind, he became a living soul. So although there is a prohibition that of mankind and angelic getting together, that does not mean that the angelic could not. And therefore, I'm telling you that some of the different things that we have been seeing and witnessing in these last days are not humans. Some of these things are fallen angels that somehow been able. I believe that some of the like you had the Rothschilds, you had some of these really super evil families out here that own, you know, some of them up to a fifth of the world's wealth, and that they are the ones that dish it out to the world. That who's to say that these families are not either the Nephilim, or that the beginning of them was some kind of fallen angel. Look at The Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino, and you'll understand what I'm saying. They put that movie out at a strategic time. They put that out close to the end of the maybe mid to late 1990s, right before a few years before the 9/11 thing was going to come in and it's going to change the world and accelerate us going into the times that we're living in, and how technology just, at least what the technology that they already had, it just took off, especially when it dealt with cloning and all these other kind of things, hybridization. It just really took off like nobody's tomorrow, because you can even remember when our soldiers went into Iraq and they said they're wearing a new type of body armor that was a cross between a spider and a goat, right? creating some kind of super hard material that was not metal, but was of the spider web. They was able to, and they had been experimenting with this for decades, but nobody knew. So I believe that it was a time where they was going to reintroduce the comfortability of different species being able to mix with each other, to be able to, as it said, marrying and giving in marriage. And to prove that point, especially when they came out with this thing of robotics, where they said, could robots replace other humans for human companionship? And you had these things where in Japan they was making these robots that were so lifelike that they said, you know what, that some Japanese wanted to actually literally marry these things because they have a society that have kind of become disattached from human to human contact, right? So much so that they're not reproducing like they should, and they have whole villages and stuff where they're just abandoned buildings because after the children grew up, the couples in there didn't want to procreate, and they ain't no, and the birth rate has went down. I'm telling you, that's what we're living in today. So that's not be shaken. That's not be surprised, as we already seen this LGBTQ thing, where with the trans thing, where they're able to mix the DNA of the female with the male. You can take certain medicines and stuff that they're not trying to do it from birth, where you will have a child that can actually be born with that. If they see it is a male, they could in the womb be able to change it to a female and vice versa. Which, well, I'm telling you, the technology and stuff that they have today is not something that mankind outside of himself will have the knowledge to tap into these things dealing with the life on a micro level. These things have come from these fallen angels, not the fallen angels that are in Tartarus. I'm talking about the angels that fell with Hasatan, that still can be on this earth, right? And that Satan, through the kingdom that he controls them, is doing this kind of stuff. And one key place that this is happening is in China, which is big on hybridization, right? Big on hybridization. So much so that they're saying it's pretty much most of the meats and stuff that we're eating today, they're from hybrids. So we're already into that thing. Even some of the plants, for those of you that are vegan, some of you that are vegetarian, that you, unless you have a microscope and you're a biologist or scientist or something, you can't tell on a micro level whether that tomato that you're eating was crossed with a fish, which is one of the things that they did to make this one type of tomato. They took the DNA of a fish. Or let me say that back. It wasn't tomato, it was corn. They took the DNA of a fish to put more omega-3s in the corn, and they put it in the corn. There's no way you can tell. There's no way you can tell. So we are living in that time as it was in the days of Noah. When it comes to the angelic being the fallen and angels and the spirits of the Nephilim, which are the demons, all of that is coincide. But it is also a time, I believe, when the Most High is going to start. We're going to start seeing more angelic visitations of Yah's angels coming. Not for us to worship them, because I believe where they're going to appear in situations where they're going to appear to be ordinary men. And it could be some that appear as women. I don't know. That could be so. I'm not going to get off into that debate. But I do believe that. And I believe that it's going to become more commonplace. I think if you look at when he said, remember the time of Lot. What was it during the time of Lot? It was a time of angelic visitation, where the angels was guiding them out of the city, telling them, eating with them, spending the night with them, right? So this is what we have, not that we're going to look for. We're not going out here praying for the Most High to let us know if it is angelic of this. Just to know, this is just a video to let you know that this is happening, and also that as the devil will multiply his army of demons and fallen angels appearing here to guide mankind into their destruction, but that Yah also will let his army, right? We praying, for Yah to send his angels, and he probably doing it every day without us even knowing about it. Where they're walking in front of us, talking to us, maybe over the phone. We might be talking to somebody. We might see somebody on the street, right? That Most High is testing us, whether we let our heart go cold, where a person come up to us and ask for help, and we turn them away, and then they go off, and then they report back to heaven and say they didn't pass the test. I'm telling you, now this is not like this never happened in times past. This happened in times past, but we know that for the most part, science and all these things have been ruling for a long time, since the Europeans came out of the Dark Ages, and they say, hey, enough of these ghostly tales and all these things. We need to get off into science. Then, for the most part, Yah has allowed mankind to think that there is no supernatural, right? But that I believe we're gonna start seeing in the end that that which is not seen is stronger and more powerful than that which is seen, because these beings are either gonna assist us to our destruction or assist us to our salvation, because that's what the Bible even say. Are not his angels there that will lead his people on the road of salvation? And salvation, I'm talking about not just spiritual salvation, but I'm talking about your natural salvation of being able to be saved through some of these catastrophes and these things that are coming and will come upon this earth. So with that, I'm going to ask you to give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to ask you to leave a comment. I'm going to ask you to share this video. And I'm going to ask you to subscribe. Be blessed.